Service Council meeting today is Wednesday, April 16th, at the time is 5:30. May we have roll call, please? Hobbiton. Belmont.
Tom McHugh, present.
Brisbane.
Booklands here.
Burlingame. Tacoma. Daisy City.
Yes. That's the best, present. I love you all.
East Palo Alto.
President Martha Farragon.
Foster City. President Susie Niederhopper. Half Bay.
Patrick Johnson, present.
Hillsborough. Menlo Park. Millbrae. Pacifica.
Christine Bowles, present.
Portola Valley. Redwood City.
Aya Aiken, present.
San Bruno.
Rico Medina, present.
San Carlos. San Mateo.
Ralph Newsom, present.
South San Francisco.
Eddie Forrest, present.
Woodside.
Paul Gold, present.
County of San Mateo.
Lisa Gaucher here, and we have one raised hand on Zoom.
Please unmute.
Good evening, fellow colleagues. It's Councilmember Rinaldi from the city of Millbrae. Unfortunately, I have just cause to not be in attendance tonight due to business travel, and I'm looking forward to participating virtually, but understand that it needs to go forward on the board for a vote. So I'm making a motion to allow me to attend virtually tonight, if you folks are so inclined.
My understanding, you can't make the motion on your own, so we're looking for a motion in the room.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and properly second, may we have a roll call, please?
City of Millbrae.
Aye.
We have 14 in person, 1 person virtual.
So do I understand if we have one person who's participating virtually, you have to do a roll call? Vote.
Okay, sorry. Abington. Just go to Belmont.
Aye.
Brisbane.
Yes.
Daly City.
Aye.
East Palo Alto.
Aye.
Foster City. Aye. Half Moon Bay.
All right.
Millbrae.
Present.
Pacifica.
Yes.
Redwood City.
Yes.
San Bruno.
Yes.
San Mateo.
Yes.
South San Francisco.
Yes.
Woodside.
Yes.
County of San Mateo.
Yes. Well, thank you and welcome. We're looking forward to your participation. Item 2 is public comment, and I'll turn to the podium.
Public comment is reserved for persons wishing to address the finance committee, or I'm sorry, the emergency services committee, council on any emergency services council related matters that are not otherwise on this meeting agenda. Are there any on Zoom? None? No public comment.
No public comment. Effective meeting. Now the next item 3, action to set agenda and approve consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
So you can probably second, and we have a roll call again.
Belmont.
Aye.
Brisbane.
Yes.
Daly City.
Aye.
East Palo Alto.
Aye.
Foster City. Aye. Half Moon Bay.
Yes.
Millbrae.
You get the mute.
We'll come back.
Yes.
Pacifica.
Yes.
Redwood City.
Yes.
San Bruno.
Yes.
San Mateo.
Yes.
South San Francisco.
Yes.
Woodside.
Yes.
County of San Mateo.
Yes. Thank you. Moving on to the next item. San Mateo San Mateo Consolidated Fire Department Hazmat Program presentation. Who's presenting? Thank you.
Wait, thank you.
15 minutes.
Oh, that's it? Okay, sounds like a challenge.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Thorne. I'm a battalion chief with the San Mateo Consolidated Fire Department. I've been an active member of the San Mateo County Hazmat Team since 2002 and the Hazmat Chief Officer overseeing Hazmat Team operations since 2017. So tonight I'm going to go over and kind of explain to you what our Hazmat Team is, what we do, and actually why we're here. Okay. All started way back in 1984. The reason it started way back then is back in the early 70s, we had a significant incident in the town of Belmont. It's called a methyl bromide incident. Methyl bromide is an extraordinarily toxic pesticide that's now been banned worldwide. A company left town in Belmont, left a whole bunch of stuff in somebody's yard, relocated to Richmond. Somebody went and saw the property. I wanted to get rid of this. They wanted to make a good barbecue out of this drum. Yeah. Well, remember, this is almost 50 years ago. That's a good idea back in the 70s. Now we're like, did they never? No. But back then it was a good idea. And when they cut into the drum, a person got exposed and ultimately died from it. Local fire department, the Belmont Fire Department at the time, went in. This is weird. Hazmat was unknown. No one knew what hazmats were. It's something the military did. It's something we didn't do as local first responders. 2 firefighters went in, came with the fumes, went down. 2 more went in, went down. Over the end of the day, 18 firefighters, which is the entire Belmont Fire Department on duty that day, went home. 12 never came back to work because of that incident. Yeah, significant event, because of the toxic fumes they inhale from that. Well, we found there's a big gap in what we do as a hazmat. Big gap we do as the fire service. So locally, a battalion chief of the San Carlos Fire Department, Jim O'Donnell, realized this was a gap and decided we need to fix this. If we are the first responders going out there, we have to fix this. How can we keep our firefighters safe and how can we keep the public safe? So what we did is he started education. Okay, what is hazmat? How do we inform people? He developed a hazmat response plan that's now being used nationwide, started locally here. That means that as going as kind of like the founding father of hazmat in California and in the nation. It all started right here. So when California decided we wanted to start a hazmat program in the state through OES, San Mateo County is one of the first ones in the state to get it back in 1984. That's how we started here with OES. Right now, it's operated by the San Mateo Consolidated Fire Department. Prior to that, it was Belmont Fire District. Prior to that, it was Belmont San Carlos. Prior to that, it was South County Fire, all the same department. We just changed our names a lot, but it's all the same agency. So the Belmont and now San Mateo Consolidated have been operating the team continuously since 1984. We are staffed in Lower Belmont at Fire Station 14 at Ralston and Hiller, Ralston and 101. We have 33 members on with our agency, 11 on duty each day. And we're responsible for all of San Mateo County. So from border to border, and including Slack down by Stanford and parts of SFO as well. We are not the primary response team for SFO, but we do mutual aid with San Francisco Fire Department that's out there. We are state recognized type 2 hazmat team. We're going for a type 1 level, which is the highest level you can be, which means we can handle every single event that's out there. The difference between a type 2 and type 1 are your terrorism events, your WMD events. We have all the equipment, we have all the training, and when we go for our recertification at the end of the year, our goal is to go for a type 1 team by the end of the year. Oops. Okay, we operate under the Hazmat Emergency Response in the County Health Division. So County Health is divided in several divisions, one being environmental health, and we work for them. We're the emergency response section. So when you call 911 because you have a spill, leak, or unknown chemical, how to deal with it, we're the one that goes out to deal with it. Why we're here comes down to the health and safety code. Every municipality, every jurisdiction is required to have a plan on file on how to deal with a hazardous spill or leak. We're your plan. So we take from the city and comes to us to handle your emergency response. This kind of show what we do each year. Because hazmats aren't very rare, are fairly infrequent. In this county, we don't have a lot of industrial like we did back in the 70s and 80s. Our demographics are shifting in this county, but we still average about 100 hazmats a year. We do about 30 to 35 or so. We're actually going on, putting the full suits on, going out. When we put the full suits on, it takes about 3 hours, 3 to 3.5 hours, depending on the size of the incident. The shortest is about 2 hours. The longest we did was probably 3 days. It's about the longest one we did. So they do expand, depend on the incident, but on average about 3 hours. This is an example of the types of calls we go on. Mostly showing on this list here, it's all through the county. From South San Francisco down to Menlo Park. No city is immune behind them because they all have things. This life today has chemicals involved. Unfortunately, what it does, right? Life of convenience involves chemicals. When they get out of their happy place or what they're designed to be in, we come out and deal with it. Anything white powder threats, radiological incidents, with the sarin threat in Menlo Park, that was an interesting one. Is a threat that came through Facebook that was on international news before we even made it on scene. It's actually interesting to deal with that one, but it turned out to come out to be always just clothing dye. That's misinterpreted because when the monitor detects chemicals, it goes through a whole spectrum thing, and this clothing dye had the exact same spectrum as sarin gas. Yeah, but we did more research, found out always actually didn't be something completely harmless. But again, we have to treat it like it's a real thing. Hydrogen fluoride, chemical spills, mercury spills, you name it, we kind of deal with it in this county. Just some pictures of what we do. Upper left-hand corner right there, that's we had a pool cleaning truck. Carrying stuff you use in your pool, right? Well, it comes out of the container. It's now a threat to the hazard, but it's not just the people, but also to the environment. This went down an embankment, so we use ropes, extrication tools like our jaws of life to help cut the chemicals out of the car to get them out. It's up in Woodside. Lower left, that was the radiological incident we had in San Carlos. They were there for 3 days. A gentleman used to work at Slack, had a hobby, like to collect radiological sources. And yep, people have different hobbies. And when he passed away, we had to deal with the sources. And that took about 3 days through the state of California and through us. The one in the middle bottom, that was actually an explosion we had in South San Francisco at a bio research lab. Relatively small one, but again, chemicals, when they interact with each other, they tend to get kind of angry sometimes. The right side is we also train our firefighters how to deal with mass decontamination. We have a lot of people exposed to a chemical. How can you get them clean as fast as we can? And that's what the picture up there is. A couple fire engines side by side. You flow a lot of water, you get a little bit cold, but now you get the stuff that's off you. Upper left, Redwood Shores. Another bio lab. At a release in the facility, we had 18 people that were exposed. Relatively minor injuries, but people decided to leave to go home. So this was spread out over 3 counties. We had people in Alameda County, Santa Clara County, and our county. So you can see how quickly this can spread. We have to deal with it. Upper right, up on Hastings and Belmont. Chemical left on the side of the road. People don't want to deal with it. They don't want to go to hazard household waste. It's very expensive to get rid of it. So they figure they put it on public right away and have the city take care of it. Well, we have to identify what it is before a city can't take care of it. We also go off-road too, lower right-hand corner. Not always on the roadways, not always the people's houses. Some things are up in trails, park systems, up in the hills, you name it. We have to find a way to get there. So we work with our partners, actually with Woodside right there, to get to areas where we need to go. And that's just a picture of our vehicle on the lower right, excuse me, lower left. Because we like pictures. Upper left, Highway 92. We had Highway 92 shut down for 7 hours during a weekday, during commute. Yeah, we made a lot of friends that day. Yeah, Mr. Newsom knows, yeah. Made a lot of friends that day, but this was done by SF Water, had a leaking chemical that they used for sterilization and cleaning of the water, leaked out of one of their trucks all the way down from pretty much El Camino down to Highway 101. Well, that's now an exposure, so we have to deal with how to clean up with and how to identify and how to mitigate it. We do a lot of training at the airport. We do a lot of training at the airport just because of how much traffic comes in and out of there. So we train at the airport consistently and also with San Francisco Fire because we're the mutual aid for it. Lower left, that is school. Chemistry lab. Chemistry teacher left, new one came in, what's all this weird stuff that's in there? So they called us. That's how much of mercury we had to deal with. Talking like several ounces is about the size of this, which is about, you know, a lot to deal with. And lower right again was this incident we had over in Redwood Shores. What do we face going ahead? Because again, we talked about, we shifted from being a lot of industrial stuff used to be in this county. It's even on the big hill in South San Francisco, the industrial city, right? But now we're kind of shifting more to the county. The biggest thing is increasing life sciences. They're becoming everywhere in this county, very, very popular. And our biggest thing is concern is more of these, like I use the term like mom and pop ones that are coming up really quick because they want to get their thing to the market next. Because when you get to the market next, that is a lot of money, a lot of money. So some of these places, not all of them, somewhat start cutting corners a little bit so they can get their product out faster. And that's where we come in. Because when you cut corners, bad things kind of happen, right? The increase in acts of violence. Definitely, this doesn't take much to turn the TV on. You can see what's going on geopolitically, both locally and internationally, right? And unfortunately, the Bay Area is really not immune to that. And the easiest way to do it is through chemicals. Very readily available, and go to Home Depot and buy anything you want. You know, and you make a pretty big impact. Electric, lithium ion, it's all the news too. Electric cars, battery storage systems, you name anything involves batteries, cell phones. This is a big one. When those things burn, there's a lot of toxic chemicals coming off of those. Like extremely toxic chemicals coming off it. Plus the runoff, we have to deal with fighting the fires with them as well. So we have to deal with those. The legacy chemicals are becoming like, you know, your oils and your solvents becoming less prevalent in this county, more exotic things you'll see out there in smaller quantities because they're used for the development of the batteries, the development of these life sciences, these more specialized manufacturing processes. You have more unique chemicals with them. Even though they're smaller quantities, they're definitely a lot more exotic and can be a lot more dangerous. We have a couple of large scale events coming. The Super Bowl's coming next week, next year. A lot of planning with that. You know, anytime you have a large event, more of a target. So now we can worry about deal with those. San Mateo County, we don't host these events, but we're the transit corridor between San Francisco, San Jose, Oakland, and everything else. So the high probability of things happening here just because of our location. Mutual aid. We're the only hazmat team for this entire county. So our population flexes anywhere from 800,000 to 1.5 million, depending on the time of day. And we're the only team that's for the entire county. By comparison, Santa Clara County has 12. Yeah, Alameda County has 5. Contra Costa County has 5. San Francisco has 1, but they have 700 members. So being the only team in town, it can kind of stretch our resources a little bit. Fortunately, hazmats don't come in as like 2, 3, 4 at a time. And most of them, since they are pretty not doing a lot, we kind of hold on to them and deal with them sequentially if we have to. But if we do have a large incident that's going on regionally, us to depend on mutual aid coming from our neighbors is gonna be remote because they want to deal with their stuff because we're a very specialized resource, not just in our county, but regionally. And if you're a neighboring city, you want to give up that very specialized resource to help someone out, you will. But now what risk do you provide back home? So that's one of our concerns is mutual aid. The training, we're really adapting because again, everything's changing. You know, everything's changing very rapidly. How can we make sure all our members are trained to the highest level? We have the equipment that's the best they can have out there. There's a lot of training out. We put several thousand hours of training that our team does annually just to maintain proficiency of what we have, let alone expanding out what we can do. And staffing requirements. Right now, the state says our minimum staffing is 5 per day. So it's minimum staffing. That is actually changing to 8. The minimum daily staffing is going to 8. So it makes it a little more challenging to staff. Because remember, we still staff fire engines back at our home agency. And we have to do more hazmat personnel on duty that day. It makes staffing our home agencies a little more difficult. Not impossible, it's a little more challenging. That we have to learn how to address as an agency, how we're going to maintain the requirements for the state to go forward to maintain our staffing. And that staffing level is the same whether you're a type 3, type 2, or type 1 team. Doesn't matter what you can do, the same personnel is still required. The only difference is what equipment you carry. This is my segue to equipment. Equipment. Unfortunately, everything that involves hazmat is expensive. Those monitors are extraordinarily sensitive, they're extraordinarily expensive, but they last a very, very long time. We have monitors that can detect chemicals that have been in our unit for about 10 to 15 years. But as long as we keep them current and they keep passing calibration, they can still work. The basic technology really hasn't changed. A few more bells and whistles on them, but basic technology hasn't changed. So we're doing really good maintaining our equipment. Our vehicle, our primary response vehicle, the one you see in the picture right there, is pushing at 15 years old. We bought that through a grant back in 2010. And as things start to age, you know, they tend to not run as well. They tend to require a little more maintenance, and it gets harder and harder to find parts for them. That's what we're going to face because right now, for a vehicle, it can take anywhere from 2 to 5 years for a new vehicle to be delivered. And now, if you're looking at for our vehicle going forward, our vehicle is now pushing 20 to 25 years before it can be replaced. And somebody will start looking for how do we get that vehicle replaced. All of the vehicles have been purchased through grants. Every vehicle, hazmat vehicle the county has ever had has been purchased through a grant. First one was donated, the other 2 are all bought through grants. So it's something we're kind of looking towards, you know, it's how can we look for a funding source to help replace the vehicle. whether it's through grants, whether it's through funding, however it is, because again, it's this proverbial snowball we're gonna start hitting as it comes down the road. So. Anybody have any questions?
Jeff, thank you for your.
I have one question there.
So on station 14.
Yes.
In San Mateo, so your minimum is 5 and now 8 people. Is that how many you have in 14?
No, we only have 3 in that station. The rest are spread out through our agency. We have 9 fire stations. And so all those hazmat personnel are spread out through the station, through all 9 firehouses. Just station 14 has 3 hazmat specialists on duty every day.
So all the other stations have one hazmat expert for each station then?
Depending on the staffing for the day. We don't do minimum staffing where there's 1 at every station. There might be 2 at one station, 3 at another. But the only station that's required to have hazmat is station 14, and all 3 have to be trained at that level.
And so when there is an incident, is all 8 of them going out, or is it just how do you know how many to send?
Well, our minimum we send out is 6 is our minimum. So regardless, we send 6 out, we collect them from all the different fire engines, put them on the hazmat response unit, and they go to the incident. So in our city, we're actually taking 2 of our fire engines out of service, so we can run a hazmat in Daly City, South City, wherever we're gonna go for that call. And then when the incidents is done, they come back and put the fire engine back in service. And we're also with hazmat, we're also sending paramedics with them as well.
So when let's say you have that material on, so what happens to the material when you find, does it go into a special vehicle to get hauled away?
We will work with environmental.
Contaminate the vehicle.
No, well, we're with environmental health, because we're the emergency response to identify what it is. Environmental health, our counterparts, will come out and help how to figure out how to clean it up. Because once we find it, we own it until the very end. So from the cradle to grave, once we find it, we have to take it to the very end. And a lot of times we'll contract through providers. Clean Harbors is one of them that they specialize in cleaning this up. Once we identify that this is a corrosive, then they'll package accordingly and dispose of it accordingly. And wherever, depending on what it is, depends where they end up taking it. If something that's radiological, that goes to a very special place. But if that's chemicals, most of them just kind of go down to the valley and be disposed of.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, my colleagues, are there any other questions? Rob?
You mentioned the funding source for a new vehicle. With all the biolabs that we have, do we not have like a yearly fee that they contribute to this fund?
That I do not know. I don't know if I'm sure you might have that. I know the Environmental Health Division does the inspections, does charge for their inspections.
Sure.
Yeah, where that goes, we receive no funding from fees or fines. Like the county does have the right to go after fine people for anything that's maliciously done. We receive none of those funds. That goes to environmental health and some other place.
It's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very good question.
I think we should look at that.
Yeah,
So currently we have a vehicle that's 20 years old and
it's 15 years old.
but no vehicle on order to replace it.
That's correct. If we were to order it, it'd be about 5 years before it shows up.
Yeah.
That's about the average span right now.
And then slightly off topic, but similar. When Trump, the hotel had that Tesla fire on New Year's Eve, they deployed this huge fire blanket. And I think I was told that the county has a few of those fire blankets. Do you guys deploy those or?
No,
do
that's
they
a-
even have them?
That's what's used for the local agencies. We'll come in afterwards to help deal with any type of runoff. We are starting to carry a special type of foam that encapsulates the molecules to stop it from burning. It's called F500 foam. We're working with that. We also have something called cell block, which is like giant, the beads you put your cell phone in to get the water out of it. It's something similar to that we can put smaller batteries in to help mitigate the thermal runaway that's happening. So we have limited capabilities, but the thing is, we're not a fire engine. So we rely on the local fire agencies to do the initial fire knockdown, and we'll come in and help them identify what is, help them clean up if they need to.
I would be curious to know,
Yeah.
and it's probably not you, but I'll follow up with the county. So does the county have those electric vehicle fire blankets? I don't know if you guys saw that, but on New Year's Eve, they
Those are the questions.
Where's mine?
probably Shruti, right? Or Shruti and staff?
So we, as the county, Department of Emergency Management, do not. I wonder if some of the, fire agencies do.
Okay.
I am not sure, but I can look, I can pull them and get back to you.
Yeah, we defer to the.
A few of the
Fire
fire agencies
agencies.
throughout the county do, but not all.
Okay.
And then also under SHISCAP, there was a grant awarded for a electric vehicle response vehicle that will be purchased and have that equipment on it as well.
Fantastic. Thank you for the information.
Thank you. We're gonna go over to Foster City first, and then we'll come back to Redwood City.
So you mentioned that once you get a contaminant, you have to dispose of them at a cost. Pays for that. What, does that go to the city that they're in, or is that part of your budget?
It's not part of my response team's budget. Environmental health will be the one that either they'll foot the bill to environmental health, yes. The environmental health, section, they'll either foot the bill to come out and either go back to the property owner or the person that did the release for, kind of recouping the costs.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's a county department, so they
Yeah.
event, there's no recovery, that's a bill of the county, so.
Redwood City.
My question is just a little bit adjacent related,
Hmm.
but like his, I'm gonna ask it. So this 5-year waiting time for
Hmm.
fire trucks, I've read in, I think, the New York Times, that there's been a consolidation of fire truck manufacturers. And so now there's basically only one company in the United States that manufactures fire trucks. And that's why it takes 5 years, because there's only one company. Is that true?
Partially. There's a lot of issues that kind of led up to that delay. One of them was the pandemic, because no one was ordering for 2-3 years. Then when that decided they had supply chain issues to get the supply chain going, now all these cities that were deferring purchasing equipment all came at the same time. So there's a big flood of orders that came in. There was consolidation of the manufacturers. I think they're down to about, 3 right now. Pierce being the largest one that's out there. And again, there's a lot of orders coming in, waiting for supplies to come in. Now with everything that's happening worldwide, that supply chain is strained a little bit. So it just kind of delays things to get kind of going out. This being a specialty vehicle, there are other manufacturers that are out there, but you are kind of bound by the chassis that it sits on. You know, you're kind of bound by the motors and the engines we put in them, because again, all these parts come together. You can have the manufacturer assemble everything, but they might be waiting for that engine to come from wherever it is to kind of put in the vehicle. So it's all this huge collection of issues that kind of led up to it. They're hoping they'll get, because before, back in 2018, 2019, your order of fire engine would take about 9 months, 9 to 12 months. And then because everything that happened, that's why we're pushing 4 to 5 years now.
And
So-
we'll take the last question from Pacifica.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if do you ever charge for your services, especially going out to a biotech, or
Nope, we do not.
is
Yeah.
that illegal? Is that, as we're looking at budget things, I'm just thinking about ways that we can try to recuperate or.
Yeah, that I would not know. I would defer that to my county counterparts.
I think we can, take a look at whether or not there's a way to approach. I don't know if this has been done, by fire chiefs in the past or not, but approach the biotech folks. For any sort of voluntary, contributions to the preparedness that needs to be in place to handle issues related to their work. We can also take a close look at whether or not there are ways to levy fees or otherwise collect support. So we'll do that and we'll report back. I'm not sure how quickly we can come to a conclusion on voluntary contributions, but we can start that work. And then the other thing that came to mind and I think was brought up, I'm not sure, through the finance committee, was we do have partners like BART, Caltrain, others who, because of their adjacency to these corridors, sometimes benefit from the hazmat work. And it's at least worth the conversation to see if that benefit they're deriving might result in some contribution. Don't know that we can force it, but again, it's worth a conversation.
Well, and Stanford too is mentioning that we
Yeah.
serve them. I don't see them on our list of contributors.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll bring something back maybe from the county. This is a lively discussion, Jeff. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I saw the dollar amount there for the vehicle. We have not ordered the vehicle yet, have we? Because it hasn't been
No,
approved.
no
So
vehicles been
we're-
ordered.
we're-
That's,
We're talking about this, but we still have to approve the ordering of a vehicle. So
That-
5 years is still 5 years away because it's not on for a vote today. It's just a presentation.
that's correct.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Next item, Emergency Services Council proposed budget for 25-26.
Thank you, council members. We want to basically start out with what San Mateo County Department of Emergency Management offers from a coordination perspective. So there's 4 buckets: preparedness, response, mitigation, and recovery. From a preparedness standpoint, we do a lot of multi-jurisdictional planning, such as multi-jurisdictional local hazard mitigation plan. We're doing the all hazard evacuation plan. We are also working on our EOP trainings, exercises, public outreach and education. From a response standpoint, some of these call outs with Chief Thorne's team, we also respond to that. And then our major response is really here in the Emergency Operations Center to do the overall coordination. Alert and warning is also a very important function. Operational area coordination before, during, and after disasters. So making sure every city and jurisdiction within our county is aware of the things that are going on, and we can holistically prepare and, you know, have one direction. Mutual aid support, federal and state compliance. From a mitigation standpoint, one of the things is that the local hazard mitigation plan, we have done some fire mitigation in the past, and we continue to do some fire mitigation, but this is not something that is significant. Our projects this year with fire mitigation are really with Filoli. And then we just finished the Coastal Resiliency Infrastructure Strategic Plan. Mitigation is going to be a hard thing to do moving forward, given the way the grants are going. So it's something that we as the Emergency Services Council needs to think about over the next 5 years as well. And recovery support, so really liaisoning with the cities to make sure that we have recovery support and liaison with the state and the federal agency on that piece. The financial landscape is dire. It is a perfect storm right now. There is a significant loss of funding from the federal level. BRIC grants went away, so I know City of Menlo Park, City of Pacifica are feeling that pressure significantly. Other grants are out for cutting. It's possible that FEMA may go away as well. And so there is a lot of chatter of things going away, and that makes us very uncertain from a financial planning perspective. The state also has a deficit. The county is also having issues with VLF funding, and all the cities are also having issues, many of the cities with significant deficits. So where do we go? It's a perfect storm, and it's I hope it's just a phase, but we need to buckle in for the next few years. I want to set the expectation that fiscally we are going to have some problems in the future and also now. So in addition to that, we have rising operational costs. We took a pretty deep dive, basically went line by line through every single expense that we have, and we have right-sized it. So I want to talk a little bit about what our findings were. So our expected year-end balance for this year at this for the trust fund was going to be 750K approximately. And then the expected value vehicle replacement fee, so that is how we would replace the hazardous material vehicle, the environmental vehicle, was 0. However, given that we brought some projects in-house, like the CRIS project, the all hazard evacuation project, and also on our deep dive with our funding, the trust fund is expected, so we haven't closed yet. These are estimated amounts to be about 800K. And then actual value of the vehicle replacement fee was about $519. So at some point in time, the JPA was putting money into the vehicle replacement fee, but it sat in a different account in an environmental health. And so we're bringing that monies over, so it sits in the right account under the ESC JPA. So I want to share with you that this is the only good news that I have for you. So we do have findings or cost savings of about $750 that were unexpected. This is good news, but this is not going to last us very long given our financial landscape. The future needs, as Chief Thorne mentioned, and fire apparatus is about $1.5 to $1.9 million. It could be even more. And then an environmental health vehicle, is about 0.3 million. So we're looking at 1.8 to 2.2 million. And that is right now. We don't know what the tariffs are going to do with the steel industry. We don't know what, how the landscape is going to continue to change. And as the chief mentioned, we, have often matched funds with grants. We don't know if that's going to be something that we can look for. However, just recently, we're looking at other grant availability. So still going to look through some regional grants, and Jeff, Chief Thorne and I have been working on this as well, just working on what that may look like, what the apparatus may look like. And I think in the next year to 2 year, we will be bringing up to vote to buy this equipment. So one of the things that I am proposing is that we start adding to the vehicle replacement fee as a sinking fund. I'm proposing right now that we add about $150K at least this year. And for the next 5 years, that will give us $750K. So if we take some money out of our trust fund, we will still have about $430K shortfall as we're looking at it. And again, ideally, we would try to find grants that would cover more than this value, but we are going to continue looking for grants. And things may change. Usually with grants, you have to spend it in that 1 year term or that 2 year term. So we usually look for that when the vehicle's kind of already fitted and going that way. The proposed ESC budget for this year is 4.7 million. The county share is 35%, the city's share is 35%. About 15% in the grants bucket. 9% comes from SFO revenues, and I'm suggesting we take out about $300K from reserves and trust fund. So how is the city's 1.7 million allocated? Right now it's allocated 62% is environmental and hazmat services. 24% is operational area communication. 12% is emergency management fees, and 2% is the supplies. I want to highlight here that this operational area communication previously a few years ago was erroneously removed from the budget, but the ESC JPA had continued to pay for it. We have just put it back in the budget. So this would look different from last year. If you look at the total budget of 4.7 million, about 23% is service charges. 26% is salary and benefits, and 50% of it approximately is programs and contracts. Some of the programs that are grant funded, which account for about 1.1 million. The grants that are coming in are about 700K. I want to note here, first I want to give an applause to Daly City Council member for pointing us to the local hazard mitigation grant, so thank you so much. These are programs that are likely to go away if the grants go away. That is the 15%, and we don't know what we're going to do in terms of how to right size this. It's all dependent on what the feds and the states are mandating and what is looking like what's coming down the pipeline. You know, they have removed training programs, so now we're having to go out and get those programs from contractors that we would have gotten for free. So my recommendation to all of you is that we adopt the budget of 4.7 million with a withdrawal of 300K from trust fund and reserves. And a vote is required for this.
Thank you so very much. So my understanding, if I understand correctly, if we look at the trust fund, it has 800 or 800 in the account, but there's a floor also. So you still have to keep 500K in that account at all times. That's part of the rules. Okay. So now we should take questions from my colleagues to see if you have questions on the budget. Sure.
So, yeah, your presentation isn't very positive. But, you know, or not to bridge about time. Yeah, so, you know, yeah, exactly. Just the mood, right? I mean, it's just, you know, where are we gonna get the money? And if we lose these grants, then it's gonna impact the services that we provide. You know, so just, you know, I'm in, you know, the mindset of Rob, where, you know, kind of how do we generate additional revenue? And how do we look at ways of getting money that's not what we have here? Or are there other opportunities that you're looking into?
You know, I do, we have been looking at some regional grants and some community foundations, but everyone is struggling right now. And so it's the uncertainty. It was brought up in the finance committee, you know, that we could look at different, one of the things that you see is like SFO revenue, that is actually revenue coming in. So the finance committee wanted to explore that as that contract is also coming to an end. So how do we negotiate that? Looking at biotech, I think is a fantastic idea. We're happy to look into that. If any of you have thoughts, I am open, and I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to go knock on any doors you'd like.
You know, I think that's great. I'm glad that you brought up SFO because that was one of my questions.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm just curious to know, like, what is the potential, or what's the percentage of service that is provided to SFO, and do they take up more than 9% of full services?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you should pay what you use.
So they are paying what they use. This is calculated using public safety dispatch calls, and there's a algorithm that's been set of what they use and the services they get.
Okay, and then it you know, obviously this is a county-wide service. If we had some assessment on property, property taxes.
Yeah, so the base of what the cities pay is actually based on tax roll data and also population increase. So there are some cities, for example, Colma would be one of those cities where their numbers only increased by slightly because of their tax roll data and their population. But there's some cities that have significantly increased in their population and their tax roll data in the millions.
And is that reflected in the numbers, the increase, that are most cities aware that there could potentially be an increase to what they're paying? I want to make sure that everybody understands and has had an opportunity to review that slide, yes.
What is it being increased on?
So all cities pay a fee into the department itself. So we want to make sure that you're looking at which page is this? Page 10? Yes. Of the report. So that and that's part of the 4.7 million that we're voting on tonight as well. Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Trudy, thank you so much for the plug on LHMP. If I didn't find any more, I would ask if anyone can find any areas of grant we should look into. Dr. Trudy, you've been very responsive. Actually, when I brought it up, I just thought, okay, well, but I was quite surprised to find out that we got it. If you don't ask, you don't get.
Right.
One thing I did bring up before, and I hope we can look into it again, as to where our reserves are being held. Where I'm leading to is, putting our money into another investment, vehicle such as CalClass, which pays more than what the county of San Mateo pays. And it's a 24-hour turnaround. And the last I checked, it was 5.62%.
Oh, wow.
I believe the county's paying 3.8. So.
I mean, like I'm invested.
There's somewhere possible where we can try to bring in more money. We should, as Dr. Trudy, as you said, we turned over all the stones, especially when Krishna went line by line. So you're basically turning over those stones and finding areas. So very much appreciated, and full transparency is the key here, and I appreciate everything that has been done with us. Thank you.
And I can, we did inquire of the county attorney's office on whether or not we could move our investment. It's currently in the county pool, so it's in the county, it pays the county rate, and we were informed we couldn't. So we were hopeful, maybe pick up a percentage point or something, but that money is required to stay within the county pool.
Thank you.
I just wanted, Daly City, Hillsborough, myself, and our chair, supervisor, meet. And so we did meet and review and go over some of these things that Mr. Plus or Mr. Vice Mayor go. But I do want to acknowledge that Trudy and our finance, DEM, have worked diligently. When we transitioned from sheriff to the county manager's office, it wasn't that simple. It's just, we'll just carry it all over to the next spreadsheet. It was not that simple, and it was not that easy to get it structured and reorganized. In addition, our EM Finance has been here 4 months, and this has been his sleepless task, Monday through Sunday. And I remember seeing the director, Dr. At an event for Samaritan House. And even then, she's talking to me that evening about the budget. They have gone through and they have spent time. And I know I'm not going to rehash everything that we spoke about yesterday afternoon at our meeting, but they really have done an excellent job when it comes to looking for, straightening out, figuring out why it disappeared, making sure it's recalculated into the equation. But it's clear that we're okay for now, but we were not going to be okay going forward. And that's because of all these uncertainties. It's because of the contract is gonna be up with hazmat, the SFO. But as you were saying was, we were bringing up, is there an escalation value? You know, do they pay for what they use, et cetera? So, we are looking at those things, but anything that anyone has, but I do want to acknowledge the work that was done. It was not an easy task.
Yes.
Just a follow-up to Rico's point. When you say we're okay for now, define for now. What's the time period?
Let's ask the finance director. But for now, the budget you see before, to me, is what I'm saying, okay for now.
Here's what's presented here.
What's presented here, because as was said to us earlier, was like, it was not going to be, it was gonna be worse. As far as, requirements for every community to have to pay into, the rate is not as much as was anticipated earlier.
And with that, I know that the council, that's why you're bringing in some of the resources to help cover and mitigate the costs, so that 300K is helping to soften the blow to cities as well, from the trust fund and the reserves.
Which we have used before, so that's nothing new. We have used those in prior years for that.
That's okay.
I just want, just to get clarity on this, because I'm seeing, the spread on, Daly City, 3.6%, Redwood City's 4.0%, and San Mateo's 4.9, and that just take my little city, we're 0.6. So is it based on population, is that what we said?
And that's what,
It is based on the base rate is based on population and the tax roll data. And then in addition to that, each of the cities, there's a fee of 2,500 that is for alert warning. So every city pays 2,500. So that is the same for each city.
So, thank you so much, and my goodness, 4 months, thank you for your work. And thank you for the subcommittee for doing all this work, and it just is what it is. I'm looking at Redwood City, and I'm comparing what we paid last year to what we'll be paying this year, and just back of the envelope, it looks like a 26% increase to me. Is that?
That
So
is
we're being asked to pay 26% more than we did last year.
pretty much every city is, the rate is changed up to between 20 and 25% is approximately. There's, I think, 1 or 2 cities that are less than like 15%. Usually every year it's been a 10 to 15% increase. This year it was going to be closer to a 50% increase for all the cities. And so the line by line was to basically sit there and cut pennies. So it was like, you know, $1,000, we cut it to like 800, and we did that line by line for every item.
It is what it is. I just wanted
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all the work. Just one other comment. You know, San Francisco Airport is 100% in San Mateo County. And their budget, it's a very profitable proposition. You know, it's one of the biggest airports in the world. And the city of San Francisco gets cash off the top every year. It was grandfathered in to 1984. They don't have any of the impacts because it's not in their county. But San Mateo County gets below the line, just kind of like tax benefits or something. It doesn't get anywhere near the kind of money government wise that the city of San Francisco does. There's probably nothing we can do about it, but it's certainly, I think they get 2%. I think the city of San Francisco gets 2% of gross income off the top. And so it's just something to be aware of, and certainly something, because we have all the impact, it's not in their town.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I have one last question.
Okay.
Chair. And that was, I saw that the grants is, 15% of the budget. Is that locked in? Like, we know we're gonna have that grants for the rest of the fiscal year, or is that at risk, 15%?
That is at risk. And that is why I say the last page of my presentation, these are the programs that would be at risk, and we would reevaluate and would have to cut programs, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Technical question. The hazmat monitor, the devices that you use to tell what kind of material it is.
Yeah.
How old are they?
They range anywhere from, we just took delivery of a new one probably a month ago, somewhere about 15 years old.
And how many of those do you have?
Well, a lot. I can't give you the exact number, we probably got between 10, probably around 25 to 30 of them. And majority of those are purchased off grants,
They're purchased on grant.
almost all of them are.
Okay. Just a comment going forward, if they are not grant eligible, I think that's be thoughtful to put those into some type of equipment replacement fund as well.
Great idea.
My other comment is going back to the idea of biotech paying for something. I just wanted to bring up a comment about maybe they would be more receptive to donating money to purchase a vehicle. So that might be maybe so.
Something really tangible, that they could say, we bought that for you.
Or like the frequent flyers that you're going out to multiple times. You know, like an alarm system, if they come out once, maybe you're not charged, but the more they come out, you start getting charged to go out to the same address. Are there any other questions? All right, so this item does require a motion, a second, and it requires a vote.
Public comment.
And public comment. I always think of public out there.
Any other comments? Fair enough.
Someone willing to make a motion?
Make a motion.
A second. Okay, so we're here on this side of the table, Davis City and Foster City. They have roll call, vote, please.
Belmont,
Aye.
Brisbane,
Yes.
Daly City,
Making the aye.
East Palo Alto,
Yes.
Foster City, yes. Half Moon Bay,
Yes.
Millbrae,
Aye.
Pacifica,
Yes.
Portola Valley. Oh, I'm sorry, Redwood City,
Yes.
San Bruno,
Yes.
San Mateo,
Yes.
South San Francisco,
Yes.
Woodside,
Yes.
County of San Mateo.
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously.
thank you so much. Moving on to item 6, Ladris evacuation modeling presentation, so there's another presentation. This should be good.
Well, we'll make it quick.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us here. My name is Leo Lehman. I'm the Chief Executive of Ladris, a company that provides evacuation modeling to the County of San Mateo. Despite the financial difficulties, which both San Mateo and, counties and cities across the state face today, there will continue to be likely fires and floods and other issues that necessitate, unfortunately, large-scale evacuations, as we saw in LA earlier this year. Fortunately, the county has been extremely proactive about evacuation planning, and is running a program for the remainder of this year where cities in the JPA are able to, at no additional cost to the cities, access and plan for evacuations locally, which is really a first of its kind program in many ways. We're going to take a look at what this looks like and, why we're interested in that. I think it's worth saying at the outset that you've probably all heard this, measure what matters, right? We need to be able to quantify how effective our plans will be in a mass evacuation. And we do that by understanding how long it will take us to evacuate. That's basically our key metric, right? So then we know, when do we call the orders? In what order do we evacuate people? Do we have our zones set up correctly? Do people know where those zones are? All those types of questions that tactically are the make or break between the execution working and not working. These are things we can practice and look at in advance, and they're critical portions of the all hazards evacuation plan as well. So looking at this here on the screen, we can see what this would look like. And this is the program that the county has adopted and that the cities will have access to again through the end of this year. The county is providing that. So we can see here for this area of Hillsborough, if we were to look at this area, we can rather quickly identify, okay, there's 540 vehicles in this area. We can see what the traffic looks like right now on the roads. And in a couple clicks, we can run a simulation that will tell us if we called an evacuation order right now for those 540 cars, how long would it take them to get out? And in a couple seconds, we can see here that in this scenario, it would take about an hour and 14 minutes to clear that relatively small area in this particular situation under these particular conditions. And of course, because evacuations are so complex and there are, billions of different ways they could play out, simulation software allows you to kind of hone in on what the critical areas are, what the critical decisions are, and then start baking that into your response plans and your pre-plans. And those are usually the things that make or break whether the evacuation works or whether it doesn't, as we've seen. It really comes down to timing. That is your single biggest resource. And for all of your citizens, when you're looking at education and making sure people are ready and have their go bags and all of that, you want to give them more time, right? More time to make the decision to leave and more time to get out if the order is called. And programs like this allow us to understand exactly how much more time we might need. Looking at what this will look like process-wise for the cities, we have a phased program here. So it will begin with education in May and followed by registration. So cities will be able to register up to 2 named users per city to receive access to this program. Those users will be trained and certified. If they're certified, they'll be given access and they'll be able to be supported and onboarded, and will ultimately be able to plan with this software for the remainder of the year, and if they so choose, beyond. We're very proud of the work that San Mateo is doing here. This is a very new space in many ways, and there's a lot of good work being put into this. So thank you for your time here today. Director Depko would like to add anything. I'll yield it for you. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I do have a couple of questions. So has this been tested? Like I know that this is a module, but have we done some testing actually on the street to see that this actually maps out to what we're expecting?
Indeed, we have. So Ladris works very closely with perhaps the foremost evacuation scientist in the world, Thomas Jacoba at Utah, as well as Old Dominion. Both of those universities maintain research labs that essentially test evacuation efficacy and what works and what doesn't, not just in terms of the modeling, but also the social science. And I know the county actually works closely with the social scientist on this as well. And this is, as of this writing, the most historically accurate program ever developed for testing evacuations. Yeah.
We have also used these programs in a couple of our evacuation drills, one of them in Palomar Parkway, and then the other one in El Granada area, where about 5,000 people did evacuate total in those 2 different scenarios. And so we were able to kind of understand how accurate this is to live evacuation.
Thank you. And I know that when we thought about the recent tsunami alert, this is like going to help in that process as well. It's good to know that the software say you are living in this area, go to, this is where you're evacuating to, or is that part of the model?
It could be if you choose to use it in that way. One of the reasons that this has historically been, let's say, government facing is that particular question about where do I go right now will vary based on the particular hazard, right? If a fire's over here versus over there, or if it's a flood. So there's not always going to be necessarily one, silver bullet answer for where you go in an evacuation. But by looking at the most common scenarios in advance, we can start to develop a sort of an intuitive sense for where we would go under different conditions. And, just like a financial model, you use something like this to try to develop those scenarios and those breakpoints, basically.
And lastly, of the two people who would be assigned, CERT, city, what's commonly, who are those individuals who are assigned to, who have access per city?
So typically, where the city has an emergency management program, I would expect it would likely be emergency management and or law enforcement fire, right? Law enforcement typically has the jurisdiction for actually calling the evacuations, fire is instrumental in really everything around that process.
Thank you so much. I saw East Palo Alto with that.
You actually, you asked some of the questions I had, but, I just wanted to, I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around the technology and how would you capture how successful people are, evacuating, which routes have become bottlenecks and which haven't, because I know in our little city, on a day-to-day basis, we actually have quite a few bottlenecks, in our city. So how can you quantify, I guess, how can you collect that data? Can you like shed a little bit more light on that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So even in this example that we looked at here, you can see as the evacuation plays out, which segments are congested. Right, so red would be like highly congested, green would be not congested, and yellow would be somewhere in between. And there's quantifiable values associated with every step of every road. So, one of the interesting things, for example, that we can note is at the 24-minute mark, you have 40% of the people in that evacuation have left, but only 22% have arrived. And if you zoom out and you look at it at a big picture level, it'll say, oh, it takes an hour to get out. But within that, most of the congestion is really occurring in that first 15 to 20 minutes, which basically tells us if you don't want that particular bottleneck to happen, either phase out that evacuation or give them more time to leave, which is always ultimately the answer. But to answer your question directly, all of that data is produced by these models, and it's yours once you make it to do what you need to do with. And that could include general traffic planning, or it could be public safety focused.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yeah, you may have answered this, but I missed it if you did. How does this relate to Genesis, Zone Haven? Are these different systems that do different things, or do they talk to each other, or what's the relationship there?
Absolutely, yeah. So Zone Haven Genesis now provides you with your zones, your evacuation zones. And as you can see here, those are a component of the system. So you can see all of the county zones if you want to sort of practice phased evacuations, which zones go in what order. You have access to all of that data here as well. So the simple difference, I think, would be that Genesis provides your zones. This lets you practice and plan and model with that GIS layer you have.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one question. Is there a way to exclude certain roads, say for instance, that might be under construction? Like today I was passing Brisbane and I knew I'd get clips here. And that route today was completely different. And the whole lane was blocked off. So taking into account real-time data. So
it does, yeah. So this system is has live traffic data in 5-minute increments provided by ultimately cell phones, but through various resellers and providers. We collect that. You can use that here in your models as you plan.
thank you.
Yeah.
So along that vein, we have an earthquake and a overpass is down.
Mm-hmm.
How does that data get collected and then brought into the model? Like, is that captured from, reporting from 911 or first responders, or, and then how does the modeling adapt when we find that?
So I think really that ends up being a process question, because today the way it works when an evacuation is called, depending on where it's called, right? Incident command will be in the field. They'll see the fire coming. They'll probably call that initial phase of the evacuation. And then if the EOC is stood up and it's a longer range event, when you have further zones getting evacuated, those decisions, there's more time to map those out. So in the case where the EOC is running that, you can input into the program, all right, well, we have the overpass here is down and now impassable. So we can drop that into our system. Or longer range planning, create scenarios in advance at our critical points that say, here's what it looks like if the bridge is closed. Here's what it looks like if this critical artery is closed. In the moment for real-time response, those systems are basically being created right now. Those processes for how we engage with this data in the moment is very fluid and evolving, but it does represent really a phase change in our ability to do that for the first time ever, to your point. Yeah, thank you.
Could I, Thanks for the presentation. I was here when you were
Yeah.
here before and I was fascinated by what you did. And in fact, Woodside's been in touch with your firm to, do that. I think, one of the key things that you didn't discuss here, and I don't want to misstate this, it's based on cell phone GPS data, essentially, a moving cell phone. What you're seeing there are cell phones going at car speeds. So it wouldn't check my phone because it's sitting still. But if I was in my car driving at 10 miles an hour, I'd be a dot up there. Was that correct? So you see things in real time from cell phones moving around the county.
For live traffic, absolutely.
live
For the
traffic.
address locations,
Yes.
apartments and so forth, those are fixed. And
The moving dots, I'm saying.
But the moving
Those are
dots,
cell-
yeah, exactly. Those are essentially representative of vehicles and usually people phones in those vehicles. And then all the live traffic information usually comes either from the GPS in your phone or the GPS in your car. That is anonymized. You can't see where people are, but yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Already have one. Of course, real quick, so I'm in zone Belmont 2.
Mhm.
If something bad happens on 280, how do I get the message about what I'm supposed to do?
So that system is different from this. This won't send the messages to you. So I suppose I would be the right one to answer that question, but
Yeah, so I think the thing to recognize, this is really a planning software to understand how we can best plan and understand how we would act in an individual evacuation for planning purposes. You're talking about an actual emergency response, and so that would be done through the alert and warning platform, which would primarily be done through a wireless emergency alert, similar to the tsunami alert that will be sent to your cell phone, which is an opt-out system. So we would, select an area, all cell phone towers would get that message, and then cell phones within that geographic area would deliver that message. That would be the primary one. And then it would be followed up very likely with a text and a phone call via the SMC alert option platform.
So it's SMC, still SMC alerts for the
Yes.
individuals.
The flowing of that information, especially in real time during an emergence, would come via that platform.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for the presentation. This is very helpful. Public comment.
We have none.
You raised your hand. Is there anything else?
No, it's public comment.
Okay. I remember that time. Next, we're going to director's update.
So, speaking of all hazard evacuation planning, we actually, did get out our base plan to both the fire chiefs and the police chiefs associations, to review for our base plan and the work plan that each of the cities are going to work through in the next 12 months. So we'll hopefully have our base plan completed with feedback from our fire and our law personnel. And then once we've finished the work plans with each of the cities, the idea is to go back and see if there's anything different that we need to do with the base plan. So it will, even though we're concluding the county portion of it, there's still going to be a review at the end of the 12-month period. In addition to that, we hosted a wildfire tabletop exercise in March to play with this software and work with the cities and law enforcement, fire, EMS, to see what the response would be if we went from one city to the next. We've participated in several different training and exercise programs, and one of the things that is very key to this group is that the CRISP plan, so the Coastal Resiliency Infrastructure Strategic Plan, we did have on March 6th a stakeholder follow-up, and we did close out that project that was funded through the Emergency Services Council. That project is now with Supervisor Mueller's office to continue to advocate for funding. We are lucky that California Emergency Services Association Coastal Chapter will be recognizing all of our work on the CRISP plan as quite foundational and exceptional efforts in emergency management, and will be awarding us a silver award on May 7th, which is my birthday. So I'm excited about that. We've participated in several exercises, active shooter exercises. We had a huge kickoff for the Tsunami Week. We had a week-long events with a lot of our partner agencies, and we continue to host tabletops and continue to participate with California Office of Emergency Services on the tsunami tabletop that they had. One of the things that we are continuing to do is lots and lots of community outreach events. And that has shown up in about a 17% increase in SMC alert signups, which is quite significant. Usually we have maybe 50 people sign up once a month. Now there are months where we have 1,700 people sign up. It's quite significant. It's in all of your cities. It's in the unincorporated area. And so it shows the return on investment that we're putting out in public outreach. And then we have also done a lot of small scale grassroots movements where we've done one-on-ones with folks. And in the first quarter, we've had about 900 people trained and prepared, especially in the low income areas, monolingual communities that are now prepared for disasters, including having some disaster supplies. So it's quite significant. We continue to collaborate with all of your cities and all our stakeholders. Just want to give a really big shout out. If you all can do me a huge favor and take the flyers you all have, pass them along. If you need more, please email me. We have them in all different languages. It's going to be a spectacular event. We have a great lineup of panelists and over 36 vendors and booths there. So that is our next big event, and I really welcome you all to share the information, send it to your friends, and please come in person. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we're report out related to the Emergency Service Council. Members of there any,
We need to ask for public comment.
oh, on that one too, on all. Turn to public comment.
There are none.
Next, the report out from the council members. Are there any updates? Yes.
I have an invitation. As Dr. Trudy mentioned, we were shortlisted for a grant for our seawall in Sharp Park for 50 million, and that has now gone away. But we have this wonderful group of volunteers in town, former Army Corps, coastal engineers and so forth, who are all surfers. And they, on their own time, have come up with an idea of a multi-benefit offshore reef out beyond our pier. So this is something that would break the wave energy that would help in storms and so forth. But it would also help surfing conditions and also help keep the sand in place. So they are presenting at our council chambers on April 29th, 7 p.m., 2212 Beach Boulevard, and we'd love to invite all of you. Thank you.
The other.
Just wanted to share, there's not a lot of times that you could share this and say, as a mayor and council, we were really fortunate to be able to do the unveiling and the christening of a brand new fireboat in South San Francisco at the Oyster Point Marina. There are no in-between fireboats or vessels in the water between San Francisco and Redwood City. We had one that was donated. It came from Hawaii. It served its purpose. It was over 30 years old. But this brand new one, 2 weeks ago, council members and myself, the Coast Guard came out, members from various fire boat agencies, and we were on the water. It was a great ceremony, christening and whatnot. And again, this is to serve everyone, right? I mean, in fact, if there were ever to be a significant catastrophe or something at SFO, on the water. This would be an essential first responder that would bring everyone into our Oyster Point ferry terminal as a kind of relocation space. So wanted to share that as a resource now available in our waterways.
Congratulations, that's exciting.
Oh, in the name, it's called industrial, as the industrial city. So it's called industrial. So we welcome the industrial.
Congratulations, are you inviting us to tour?
You can, absolutely.
Are there any other announcements? Well, I'm so excited. This is my first meeting as a chair, and in my meetings, we start on time, we end on time, and we respect your time. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.